Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It is so great to have all kinds of beings with us today. This is super exciting. We have a lot of great folks, some wonderful visitors, and lots of four-legged furry friends with us. I think we set a new attendance record today because they do count in our attendance. And if you brought a picture of your pet, that's going to count half, so make sure you let us know so that we can turn in the official numbers somewhere. This is a super important day. This is the day when we wrap up our series on our 7 principles by talking about Principle 7. And that is that we are part of the interdependent web of all existence. And all existence includes our furry friends, those who are part of our families with special love. And that's why I wore my stole today, which I know that you rarely see, but this is to emphasize the fact that environmental justice and animal justice is just as important as all the other social justice acts and committees and events that we have as well. So, and I think it looks really good with the purple.
It does.
So, there we go.
And the yellow is for intentional.
We'll begin by lighting the chalice. The chalice is indeed a ritual that unites Unitarian Universalists everywhere, and it calls us together in this space as we gather in sacred community. The flame of the chalice is a symbol of so many of our values, including truth, knowledge, love, courage, sacrifice, passion, and the light of being together in community. Thank you, Linda. Please join me in reciting the affirmation, which is printed on the order of service as we light the chalice, signifying our sacred gathering this morning. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our aspiration, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you for your help. Just a word about whatever pets you brought. I don't care if they make noise. Yeah, it's going to be distracting, but some of you make noise that is really distracting. And often that's an unpleasant noise. So deal with it, all right? Rather than just an opening and closing words for today, I'm going to be reading from Dr. Seuss's The Lorax throughout the service. It's a perfect message for our 7th principle, and last week was Dr. Seuss's birthday. He's one of my favorite authors, so we'll read a few pages at a time in different places throughout the service. At the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And the deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood. This is the Lorax, by the way, if you've not seen the movie. Just as long as it could before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere from the far end of town where the grickle grass grows? The old Onceler still lives there. Ask him. He knows. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock at his door. He stays in the lurkum on top of his store. He lurks in the lurkum cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of Muffered Moof. And on special dank midnights in August, he peeks out of the shutters and somehow he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Then he pulls up the pail, makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in his snoove, his secret strange hole in his grooveless groove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whispermaphone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone. Slip! Down slups the whispermaphone to your ear. And once the old Onceler whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. If you're a visitor with us today, you're wondering, what in the world is this place? We are very proud to be the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Charlotte County, and we are so glad that you decided to join us today. If this is your first time with us, I don't know if you'll be happy or sad to hear this is not like every other Sunday. We might wait till the end of the service, and this, who knows, we might do this more often. But we're very glad that you're here, and we would like to invite you to introduce yourself if you feel like it. But we invite you to stand and say your name, where you're from, and why on earth you decided to visit with us today. This is an optional thing, but we'd love to get to know who you are. So if you're with us for the first time and you'd like to say hello, we invite you to stand at this time. Tom in the back has a microphone that he'll bring so that we can all hear you nice and loudly. Anybody like to say hello as a visitor today? Up here we have one. Start in the front, that's a good idea.
Good morning. There it is, now it's green. Good morning. Good morning. My name's Lori Meininger. I'm from the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Durango, Colorado. And I am here because my friend Wanda and I have known each other since 2005.
Hey, welcome, Lori. So nice to have you. There's another one.
It's not my very first time being here, but it's about 2 years ago that I was here.
Hold it close.
But,
Hold the microphone, there you go.
can you
Thank
hear
you.
me there? Yeah. I'll try to do that commercial. Can you hear me? But, this is my good friend, Kane, and she told me about last night's program, which was wonderful. This last night's monologue was a really good deal. But when they told me that today would be the blessing of the animals, I had to bring my optimist. Optimus Prime. He counts as one half.
Yes. The picture is one half, absolutely.
Good morning, my name is Laura Anderson, I'm a member of this fellowship, and I have my niece Beth, who's here visiting. She lives in Northport, and my granddaughter Emma, who's on spring break.
Welcome, so nice to have you. Great. Anybody else like to say hello this morning? Oh, over here? I'm circling the wagons, we'll be there in a moment.
Oh, hello, good morning again. My name is Gina, and yes, many of you may remember that I was attending for the first time last Sunday, and just delighted to be able to attend again. And yes, it's not my very first time, because my first time was last Sunday, but it's my dog Breezy's first time. Breezy. Anyway,
Breezy.
I'm so delighted we could attend today.
She's gorgeous. Next, we have one more up here.
I'm Phyllis Spencer from Columbus, Ohio, and like you, it's really my second time, and it was about 2 years ago, so we may have been here on the... My good friend Betty lives here, and she brought me, but she was not feeling well this morning, but she is a lover of all kinds of ecological justice. She'll be sorry she missed this special service.
Good, well, thank you, it's really nice to have you. She can watch the video. Tom, did we start the video? Thank you for doing that, I appreciate it. I just trust you now.
Bad decision.
Excellent. So it's so great to have all of you here, and we do hope that you enjoy the service. It's very different. We have lots of dogs, lots of songs, lots of unusual things, and it promises to be a great morning for sure. Before we sing our opening hymn, I do want to remind you that right now is our pledge drive, and as is custom, if you have a pledge envelope that you'd like to bring up, here's the bowl to do that. But I'd just like to share a note that I got this morning right before the service from someone whose name I will not mention. But he says, staying home this morning with the cough and cold symptoms. Self-quarantine is in order pending further developments. So true. Was looking forward to returning pledge envelope with doubled pledge amount after the inspirational message last week. So just a reminder that we do have a challenge out there because we have to meet our budget requirements. If we're going to be responsible, then we need to be in the black. So we invite you, if you haven't already, to bring your pledge envelope up front as we sing our hymn, number 203, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. We invite you to stand in body and or spirit if you'd like to, and sing with us number 203. Way back in the days when the grass was still green and the pond was still wet and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the Swami swans rang out in space, one morning I came to this glorious place. And I first saw the trees, the truffula trees. These are our very own truffula trees. Thank you to Debbie Conrad for making them. The bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the ripulous pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. But those trees, oh, those trees, those truffula trees. All my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do, so I unloaded my cart, and in no time at all I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop. And with great skillful skill and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft as I knitted a need. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump. I looked. I saw something pop out of that stump of the tree I chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy. And he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. At this time, I was planning to have everybody with a pet bring them forward. If you'd like to do that, I invite you to rise and bring your pets forward at this time. We'll see how that works out, because we have a lot, which is fantastic. So if you would like to bring your dog up front for the blessing or whatever, or your picture, if you have just a picture, if you'd like to bring that up front, then do that as well, please. Because we know pictures will get along with anybody. This is amazing. Tom, I don't think you have a wide lens that's wide enough. Look, they just keep coming. Just spread on out here up front, or congregate, or just do whatever your dog lets you do. It's fine, bring them on up here, I don't care. That's awesome. So, for a great many of us, the interdependent web includes our animal friends. Whether we are 5 years old or 95, our pets become a vital part of our lives and our beloved family members. Today, we celebrate our furry and scaly friends by offering a blessing. This is an annual event, not only here, but also at UU congregations all over. Also at Jewish synagogues, Catholic churches, and places of worship for a great many faith traditions of all stripes. In fact, one of my UU minister colleagues observes that when blessing animals, the dogs and the cats and the birds are always wonderful and well behaved, but it's the asses you have to look out for. If you brought your pet today, we certainly welcome you for this time. We'd like to invite you, if you have your order of service, there's a responsive reading that we'd like to do at this time. And I know those of you up front can't handle an order of service and your dog at the same time. So if you have the order of service, please follow along. I'll do the leader part, and you all are all. Surrounded by the animals we love, we remember with gratitude the pets, protectors, and animal companions who have blessed our lives. We give thanks for our childhood pets, who taught us to love and to cry. We give thanks for our children's pets, who help us to teach them responsibility and relationship. And we give thanks for the pets of adulthood, who brighten our days and comfort our nights. Surrounded by beloved pets, we remember that many animals suffer. We remember that some animals are hunted, or deserted, or tortured, or hungry. We remember that nature can be cruel, and that people can be mean. Surrounded by the animals we love, we know that many animals contribute to our lives. We give thanks for all those animals who help us, worker animals who guard us and find our lost and help those in need, the animals who provide us food and clothing, who tote our burdens and entertain us with their antics, and for animals who give their lives to help us learn. Spirit of life, Help us to remember that we live and work and play among the animals. This is their world too. Help us to be their friends, to love them and care for them. Bless these animals who are the companions of our lives. Hear our outpouring of love and of gratitude for them, and help us translate that into love and gratitude for all your creatures. We bless these animals we love. We pledge to care for them tenderly and faithfully, and to remember we are not alone on this earth. Amen. Thank you so much for bringing your loved ones with you today.
Pictures only count for half, but we have a dog, a grand dog, that has, going to have to count the whole floor because she is going to sing you a hymn.
What?
Oh my gosh.
Excellent. That's great. A turtle. Nancy has a tortoise. Picture of a turtle. And the name? Sally the tortoise. That might be a first for me. Throughout the morning, we're going to have people who represent different aspects of environmental justice come and share just a moment about the work that their group is doing and how we can be involved in those activities. At this time, I invite Bill Stanwood to come up, who's going to tell us a little bit about our worm bin and about composting. Where's Bill? Oh, there you are. Come on up, Bill. And this past Wednesday, to get this whole thing kicked off, he and I have done a series of videos that we're posting on our Facebook and YouTube pages every Wednesday that we creatively call Worm Bin Wednesday.
Yes, we are terribly original. I wanted to just remind you that part of the underlying inspiration for this comes from the Green Sanctuary, which we earned as a national recognition for the kinds of things that we do in this fellowship to save things, energy, and especially materials, which Dennis is going to talk about too. And the thing that is especially interesting to me is the organic material that we produce. Now you're going to say, so what's organic? I've seen it in label in a grocery store. Anything that is alive or was alive is organic. That we're surrounded by all sorts of things, plus we ourselves, of course. The likelihood is that it is also one of the easiest things, what is called in my technical language, low-hanging fruit. The stuff that we put in the trash that shouldn't be it doesn't belong in the trash. It shouldn't be in the trash. Technically speaking again, it could be called garbage. The organic stuff, we'll call it garbage. So what do we do if we don't put garbage in the trash? 25% of the stuff we produce that we don't want anymore is organic. And we could keep that from going. There's a huge pile of stuff up by Arcadia that smells bad, looks bad, draws all kinds of creatures that shouldn't be gathering, and leaks into the water. We're going to talk to you about water quality today too, so this is all connected. The important thing also is that Rev Dan's blessing, he's a very powerful blesser. It went right through the walls, out to the 3 bins.
We should have brought a worm in.
They're very comfortable out there, they don't like light. But the blessing went out there, and our earthworms are blessed too. We have we have now 3 earthworm bins. One of the problems is that they need some attention. They need attention all year. And the likelihood is that the most important thing we can do in the near future is set up a plan so that the worms can get more attention. Now, oh, by the way, I wanted to mention also that I'm only asking you for 25% more. Not 50%, not 100%, just 25% that goes in this bin right here. And it can go out to the worms, it needs to be managed by somebody. Dennis is now a practiced vermicomposter, and those worms, among other things, have been used in our ant camp in the spring to help young people understand. Here's another one. Worms are not slimy. They're tickly. They're covered with hair. There's so much about a worm that's like us. Really like us. The likelihood also is that you need to be more enthusiastic about it. So in this very solemn place, I'm also going to offer you an opportunity for a little enthusiasm. If I give you an E, E, A, R, T, H. We've got earth, and then we want worms, we want earthworms. We want more enthusiasm about earthworms.
So look for more information about how we're going to be able to collect our organic waste that we'll do in these buckets. That's why Bill had one of those buckets. And so look for more information about helping us do that. And if you would like to participate in our worm bin program, we certainly need some more volunteers to help with that. Let's, okay, I'm going to do another reading and then we'll sing again. This is the Lorax speaking, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues. And I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset, and he shouted and puffed. What's that thing you've made out of my truffelet tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree, and I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed's a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. But it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers for bicycle seats. Well, the Lorax said, sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy that fool thneed. But that very next minute I proved he was wrong, for just at that minute a chap came along, and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $9.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid guy, you never can tell what some people will buy. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shut up if you please. Well, I rushed across the room, and in no time at all, I built a radio phone, and I put in a quick call. I called on my brothers and uncles and aunts. I said, listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast, take the road to North Nitch, turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Stitch. And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting thneeds, just as busy as beads, to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. Then, oh baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was way too slow, so I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. Our next song is hymn 167 out of the Teal hymn book. This one, 1064, I'm sorry. Mother Earth Beloved. 1067. You can stay seated if you want, you can stand if you want, you can do whatever you feel like it on this song. As for you do that all the time. Each week we take time to read from what we call the Book of Life. This special book allows you to share something of importance with the fellowship. Each Sunday before the service begins, you may write your own joys or sorrows, large or small, to be read from the Book of Life during the service. You'll find the book on the table just inside the door in the back of the sanctuary. In our tradition, we revere the living of our lives as a sacred endeavor, believing that the joys and sorrows we experience hallow the living of our days. We do have a few entries to share with you this morning. I am happy to announce that I am in a play at the Charlotte Players called Baggage. The largest part with the most lines I've ever had. Very excited. From Patrick Eaton. As we mentioned last week, this is from Jerry and Alan Serrell. Car was totaled, we are fine. Thank goodness for airbags. We are so very grateful for all the care, concern, and love extended by you all you wonderful people. You are our family. Thank you. And then a sad note from Mary Jane, our office administrator, who most of you know. Her father, Donald Ledvina, passed away Friday. He had a heart attack Thursday night and basically had a 24-hour heart attack until he passed away Friday afternoon. And so, remember, she just lost a brother 3 weeks ago. Yeah. And so this is a very difficult time. And on top of that, Miles was sick yesterday, and she took him to the ER with some asthma issues. So super, super challenging time for her. And we've got most of the things in the office covered this week. But if you're willing to help with whatever, we might need some help with whatever. I'm not even sure what whatever is. But with the pledge drive and the annual meeting coming up, we may need some clerical help or something. So you could just shoot me an email and let me know your availability in the next couple of weeks, and I would certainly appreciate that. At this time, we invite all of you to come forward and to take a moment of silence, to think about the joys and sorrows, the challenges, the highs and lows, the celebrations in your own life that you've had over the past few days. After a moment, when the music plays, you're invited to come to the table we have here in front, to my right and your left. There are stones there and marbles on the table. There's a bowl with stones and water in it. We invite you to gather around. You don't need to make a line. Grab a stone or a marble, stand there for a moment, and to release whatever it is that your burden is on your shoulder this week, or to share with the universe the joy or the celebration that you would like to share. So let's have a moment of silence at this time, and we know that the dogs are going to do what dogs do, and that's okay. We can meditate through that, right? All right, so let's have a moment of relative silence at this time. Thankful for the breadth of our community, let us endeavor to support one another in all times and in all seasons. May this congregation ever be a harbor for the heart and a sanctuary for the soul. Amen. At this time, I'd like to invite up our congregation president for just a couple of more weeks. How many days? And Dennis is going to talk to us about our recycling efforts.
I got into recycling in the early 90s. I was working in a high school, and my students had moderate to severe range. They were in the autism spectrum. And one of the things that I needed to do was to develop a curriculum that would address issues like how do you cook, how do you take care of your body, et cetera, et cetera. But the big goal by the time you got to high school was, what are you going to do for work? Well, this school had a greenhouse that had been abandoned. It was just used for storage. And we had this high school that had thousands of students, plus a very large faculty. So we started a aluminum recycling program in this greenhouse. Well, the price of aluminum back there was great. So, you know, we had the stations, and each kid first, you had to pile them up here, then they had to be washed, then they had to be crushed, and then they had to be stacked for storage. And then the janitor would come with his truck and take it to the place where they would weigh it, and then we'd share the money equally. It was a communist system, but my favorite recycler was Eric. Eric was, everything had to be precise, and it had to go dum, 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 or he would just throw a tantrum. Well, God help us if a faculty member put a cigarette out in a can, and we found it. So in order to stop this from happening, I installed a horn, like a Schwinn bicycle horn, and when it would happen, he would honk it to get rid of the frustration and the anger. And it worked. Eric actually ended up working for our county recycling service. And as far as I know, the last time I had contacted his mother, he still does. Now, why I'm telling you this story is I'm thinking about putting a horn above our recycling because I'm the one that's responsible for seeing that our recycling gets to the recycling center. And we don't quite have it. We're almost there, but we don't quite have it. First of all, do not put cans with stuff inside of it. That doesn't work. Another thing, I've been preaching actually, you know, take the tops off the bottles because they'll go through and, no, that's a lie. Leave the tops on, they changed it. Now the tops are supposed to stay on the bottles. The other things you can do, junk mail, of course, newspapers, phone books, cardboard, but the cardboard needs to be broken down. You know, it adds to our work if we have to stop and break that stuff down. Plastic containers, if you have doubts, on the container there'll be a number from 1 to 7. That's okay, it's recyclable. Steel cans can go. Clear, brown, and green glass. But the biggest thing that I want you to remember today is it has to be clean. I'm going to really be honking my horn if I have to pick up any more snotty tissues or used napkins or stuff like that in a recycling bin. The stuff has to be clean. Now, what you don't know, and I know what I didn't know, but I know now, is that you must be very careful that you don't get stuff in there that will get caught in the rollers. So no wires, no Christmas tree decorations, you don't want like pool covers or plastic bags or anything like that in recycling because it shuts down the system when it gets caught in the rollers, okay? So basically that's what I have to say about recycling. Keep it up, do it at home. I'm very proud to say at this point that my family has reduced our garbage down to like maybe an eighth of a can each week. And we're always refilling our neighbors' recycling bins. Another thing I'm glad I remembered to show you this. This is a poop bag. And, you know, any dog owner goes through anywhere from 3 to 4 of these a day. These will decompose. They're made out of bamboo. And I got these at PetSmart, but you can get them all over the place. Do that too.
So are you saying that you want bags of poop in our recycling?
No, I don't. I just thought, you know, with all the dogs that thought it was good.
Just use them.
Yeah, yeah.
Put the poop in the bag and the bag in the trash. And it all good.
No, don't put it in the work.
All right, that's all really good information to know. At this time, we're going to do another song. It's called the Garden Song, and you'll find the lyrics in your order of service. This is a Hoyt Axton Pete Seeger song, so super awesome from Light a long time ago.
Mulch it deep and low.
But by the next week, he knocked on my new office door, that Lorax, and he snapped, "I'm the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please, but I'm also in charge of the brown Barbaloots, who played in the shade in their Barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go round, and my poor Barbaloots are all getting crummies because they have gas, not food, in their tummies. They love living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys," he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad, and I watched them go. But business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies in tummies, you know. I meant no harm, and mostly I truly did not, but I had to grow bigger. So bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered the loads of the needs I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more needs. I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again, he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. "I'm the Lorax," he coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled, he snargled, he sniffed. "Onceler," he cried with a cruffulous croak, "Onceler, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor swami swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in their throat." "And so," said Lorax, "please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here." As Bill mentioned earlier, we have a Green Sanctuary designation, and we've invited Gudrun to come and share a little bit more about exactly what that means and what our responsibility is for being a Green Sanctuary.
Well, you just read it, why it's important. We have biggered and biggered and biggered until we can hardly live on this planet anymore. But anyway, the Green Sanctuary starts when you come in and have your cup of coffee. It is fair trade and organically grown, which means that we don't add anything to the soil that shouldn't be there. And the farmer is paid properly. There's no middleman like Folgers or Maxwell or whatever they're called. So we have that. We have green cleaning products, which will decompose into other natural things, organic things. So, for example, at home, I didn't do that. The people who owned it before me just let their laundry water go into the garden, and I do that too. But it's because I use green products. And then we got rid of plastic. Oh my gosh, our world is filled with plastics. I mean, even up here, this, I mean, really, everything is plastic. And we can't get away from it, but we can get away from a lot of it. And we have gotten rid of plastic dinnerware, and that meant that we needed someone to wash the dishes after we have, what's it called, potluck or anything, and that's why we got the dishwasher. And that's why I threw a hissy fit when I saw a mountain of styrofoam cups on top of the refrigerator here.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, you know who you are. So, just don't do it again. see, what else did we have? Yes, we started the recycling, and then when we found we didn't have money to pay waste management to collect it, Dennis volunteered, and sometimes I took it, and yes, we do need to work on the recycling. We have meatless meals. As everyone knows, it's the greener way to live if we cut down on meat or cut it out entirely. And at this point, I have to say this, at home, where's Will? Oh, there he is. I don't have any trash at all. Because I compost. I'm also known as the compost queen in my neighborhood. I compost, and if it weren't for the cats, I never would have any trash. So, yes, it can be done. Yeah, and that's it. That's all we do, and I invite everybody to do the same thing.
Thank you so much, Judy. Our next hymn is number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. What's more, snapped the Lorax, his dander was up, let me say a few words about Gluppity-Glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making Gluppity-Glup, also Schloppity-Schlop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler man, you. You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hummed, and no more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Their future is dreary. They will walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir. I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering. Turning more truffula trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. And we heard that tree fall, the very last truffula tree of them all. No more trees, no more needs, no more work to be done. So in no time, my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. Now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big, empty factory, the Lorax, and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance. Just gave me a very sad, sad backward glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with one word: unless. Whatever that means, well, I just couldn't guess. Each week we take an offering that helps us finance the many, many ministries, both internal and external, that we are involved with as a congregation. At this time, we invite you to give, and also this is the second Sunday of the month, and so that means we have a second helping. So Herb is going to come and tell us a little bit about the second helping as we invite the ushers to come forward and take the first offering, the first helping. So we have 2 sets of baskets on these Sundays. So I'm not sure who the ushers are today, but we invite you to come forward and grab the brown baskets for our regular offering, and then we'll do the lighter baskets for the second helping after Herb tells us who our second offering is.
Morning. Today the recipient of our second helping is the Charlotte County Homeless Coalition. They take care of 3 things in general, which are shelter, additional housing, and food. The Coalition's homeless shelter is the only one of its kind in the community. Safe and supervised, they allow people to stay up to 30 days. They serve single men and women and families. They also have 20 beds for veterans in support of the National Initiative to End Veteran Homelessness. Since opening more than 8 years ago, the shelter has served nearly 4,000 homeless individuals and families, and many go on to stable permanent housing. Services include intensive care management by professionals that help residents obtain necessary documents, assistance with employment opportunities, resume and job interview skills, determining eligibility for benefits and services, and a host of other needs. The emergency shelter also offers these programs and services to clients not only while they are residents, but also after they have transitioned into permanent housing. Over the past year, the shelter has been home to more than 500 residents, 125 of whom were children under the age of 18. More than 90% of families and 81% of individuals who leave go on to permanent housing and do not become homeless again. The housing, they will also offer you financial assistance first, last, and there's a deposit first and last monthly payments so that you can get a head start in your own housing. Within the food, the hunger prevention program is based on the philosophy that no one in our community should go to bed hungry. And to meet this goal, they offer hot meals, lunches, snacks to the children, and access to the weekly food pantry. The Hot Meals program is open 365 days a year, serves breakfast and lunch to shelter residents and veterans in the shelter, and dinner to the general public in the Homeless Coalition's dining room, where every night 150 people get dinner. And they also offer evening snacks to the shelter's children. Over the last year, the Hot Meals program has served more than 75,000 hot meals and snacks. I can only say, if you are ever sitting around one day wondering what you can do with your time, call the Homeless Coalition and get a tour. They're always hungry to let people know what they do, and you would be amazed, and it might also motivate you to become a volunteer there. Today, give as you can, and thank you.
Thank you very much. The offerings have already been passed, so Jim, I think we'll skip the offering if you don't mind, for the offertory. Sorry about that. That was very efficient. I know. At this time, we have Dr. Alan Serrell from the Climate Action Team who will come up and tell us a little bit about what our CAT is all about.
Good morning. Climate is what you expect, weather is what you get. That's the shortest definition I know of the two, and if you understand that, you probably understand more than most politicians. Just because you take a snowball in the Senate in DC doesn't mean it's not happening, and unfortunately just because you have a hurricane in Florida doesn't mean that is climate change. Which English king banned the burning of coal in London? Was anybody around at the time? Probably not. It was 1306, and it was Edward I. To put that in historical or Hollywood perspective, the year before that, Mel Gibson or William Wallace in the movie, remember the movie Braveheart? He was killed by the king. He was hung, drawn, and quartered after being dragged through the streets of London. A little anecdotal note: he was actually hung, drawn, and quartered outside my medical school. The ER was very close at the time. The first industrial disease related to fossil fuels was described by a person called Potts about 400 years later. And currently, a study in 2013 by MIT found that approximately 100,000 Americans die prematurely each year because of pollution from car fumes and fumes from fossil fuels for making energy. Now, on top of this, we have climate change, which we've known about for 50 years. Each year, recently, the oceans have gone up by 3.5 millimeters. That's not very much. My little finger, my nail, is 1 centimeter. So every 3 years, approximately, it goes up by 1 centimeter. That's the average. If you live in Jakarta, it goes up by 1 foot a year, mainly because a lot of Jakarta is sinking, because they'd be pumping out aquifers. If you live in Miami Beach, it's about 9 millimeters a year. If you live in Alaska, in some places, it's actually going down, because it's hard to imagine this. The weight of the glaciers, now it's gone, the Earth is still rebounding and going up. It all seems a strange combo, having mountains rebound. So the minister here is not likely to be giving sermons in his rubber boots for a few more years, but what is going to affect us is temperature. Currently we have about 125 days each year where the heat index is above 90. The heat index is a combination of humidity and temperature, and 90 is an important figure to remember because it's about the level where it becomes hard to be outside. That level by mid-century will be 166 days. We also have about 25 days at the moment where the heat index is over 100. By mid-century, that's expected to get to 105 days. So it could get quite miserable and hot here. Now, I've got a lot more cheerful facts for you if you want to. But the UUA and their Climate Action Network is encouraging us to do something about it. So last Friday, I looked on the internet and typed in climate change when I got onto the UUA website. I was rewarded 0.56 seconds later by over a billion links to other internet sites. I doubt they were all UU related, and I apologize I haven't gone through them all yet. But that's probably as many as you'd get if you put in Kardashian in the Google search. So last March, the Climate Action Team was formed here. Since we are UUs, we have to have 4 co-chairs. Aubrey Sykes, Nina Sykes, Jolene Searle, my wife, and me. We meet monthly, and everybody's welcome. Our goals are primarily education. This was decided at our first meeting. A lot of people wanted to be brought up to speed on the current knowledge of what's happening with climate change and our Earth. We had a presentation last Earth Day. We had 2 more presentations in November. And 3 weeks ago, we had a presentation on sustainability and health effects of climate change. Last weekend, we also had a successful tabling event at the library next door. We now have a reader board outside. We've provided documentary DVDs for the monthly Meatless Meals. Now, we are not a discussion group. We do not intend to reinvent the wheel. So with that in mind, we are liaising with CCL, Citizens Climate Lobby, and also the Congregational United Church of Christ in Punta Gorda. I personally have also been involved with Climate Reality and hope to get some relationship with them too. Last weekend was the first Veg Fest in Punta Gorda. We weren't there. We found out about it too late. We will be there next year. 22nd of this month is World Water Day, the first day of Climate Justice Month, which ends up with Earth Day on April 22nd. Please think about that. Now, could the members of CAT, Climate Action Team, who are here, could they stand up, please? Thank you. Now, if you have any questions, these people will be more than willing to give you answers. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
When's the next team meeting?
So, when is it?
April 12th.
It changed, April 12th.
April 12th.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Alan. Really appreciate it.
You're all welcome.
Our final hymn for the day is number 134, Our World is One World. We invite you to stand in body and or spirit as we sing 134. As we just mentioned from the Climate Action Team, the most effective thing you can do to create consensus about climate change is to talk about it. Reaching your neighbors, friends, colleagues, and elected officials builds the political will that pushes our community members and leaders to action. Meatless Meal will be coming up on March 28th, and so keep an eye out for more information about that. Next Saturday, Helen is moving on March 14th. If you could help, please see Helen or Lori. Helen, right here in front. We need some help in the kitchen to collect and take out trash each week. So please see Lori in the kitchen if you're willing to help with that. This coming week is our yard sale on March 14th from 9 to noon. But beginning Wednesday, we're collecting items here. So if you've been looking at things at home that you'd like to donate, you can bring them here starting Wednesday morning, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and there's a team of people here who will collect and sort and price all those things. Next Sunday at noon, we're showing a video documentary called Side by Side. It's Micah's story from infancy to adulthood, capturing the unique challenges of living with a person with cerebral palsy. And this, I've seen this video. It is very powerful, and we encourage you to plan to stay for that video next Sunday. And finally, the world tour of Racial Monologues has now been to Venice. That's the one in Florida. Punta Gorda, and here last night. If you still want to see it, your next and final chance will be Monday, March 30th at 5 p.m. at the FGCU Renaissance Academy in Punta Gorda. If you have questions about that, you can ask Samara. Wait. We did video that last night, and the video is available on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. And if you can't see any of it and you'd like those monologues printed out, you can actually buy the book with all the monologues. There's a few more available. You can get them for okay, this says $50. I knew that wasn't right. The price went up. It's so popular. They're $5 from Kay Azar. See her after the service, if you would, please. That was long, long ago, but each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away through the years while my buildings have fallen apart. I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So catch, calls the Onceler. He lets something fall. It's a truffula seed, and it's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last truffula seed, and truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack, then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. And now we extinguish the chalice, but not the light of hope, the fire of community, or the warmth of commitment. May the ideal shine in your lives, warm our heart until we are together again. We invite you to stand and body your spirit as we sing our benediction. Remember, don't shake hands, wash your hands for 20 seconds, wave at people you love, and use our new hand sanitizers that are out there, and be a blessing to everyone you meet. Thanks for being here.